who do not know me, my name is Ronnie. I am a donor egg mom in waiting, and what that just means is I was told by my doctors the best chance of me bringing a baby home was through donor eggs, and so that is what I did. I am currently on a pause. I've had 4 losses, but the last time we were here
Mhm.
with Miss D, she was also on her failed transfer, and now she is back and she is pregnant. She is pregnant. She is pregnant. And I remember, if you have not seen, and this is what I love about this interview, is because if you have not seen that interview, it was so powerful. She was in the moment, probably feeling like a lot of women are feeling because she didn't know that this day would exist.
No.
But she still came and she had that whole conversation with me. It was raw, it was very emotional, and she sat with me and she talked with me, and we didn't know. And she even did, like, I was like, girl, get you a ACBDGLZ times three plan. And she went right on in the group and she asked for, like, anybody want to get it? Anybody got some embryos they not using?
Yeah.
She asked that.
Yes.
She had those on standby, but
Yes.
turns out she did not need those. She ended up being pregnant with her own embryos that she created. And so we will leave off with where that began, because even though still, like, she's here, she still had some a little bit of ups and downs, right?
Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes. Definitely, definitely. So the last time we were here, it was September. It was about a week or so after I found out that my first transfer was not successful. And like she said, it was raw emotions. I wasn't sure if I was going to even talk about it, but I felt the need to talk about it and let it out, and it was good for me. And I got a lot of advice. And like she said, right after the interview, I jumped off of here and I got into the group. And I changed clinics. So I was at first, I was with CCRM Northern Virginia here in Virginia. I knew I couldn't afford another transfer out of pocket. The advice was, girl, set up something with CNY. Set up something with CNY and get on over there. Get your one embryo. I had one embryo out of 3 left. And it was considered a mosaic. Not sure if you all are familiar with mosaic embryos, but they are genetically normal, but they are chromosomes that are affected, and they just let the intended mommy to be know the chances of that embryo, whether it'll survive or not. So I was working with one embryo, which was mosaic. Um, and so I did go hard in the paint, asking if anybody was willing to donate embryos. And I ended up having 3 people who were willing to donate to me. But I wanted to just try with my embryo first that I had before taking on having several embryos and then having to give them up later or donating them later. So I set up my appointment with CNY. I ended up changing doctors, OBs, because my OB, I had issues with fluid in my uterus, and I continued to have issues with that. I reached out to my OB and told her, that I still have issues with fluid. That may have been one of the causes of why my embryo didn't transfer. Maybe take a second look. She told me she was not comfortable with performing another hysteroscopy because I had just had surgery earlier in the year in April. And so she said she wasn't comfortable with putting me under anesthesia to do the surgery again. So at that point, I just had a feeling that I needed to, I needed somebody who was like really going to go hard with trying to figure out my issue with the fluid. So a friend of mine, she referred me to her OB, who was a black OB. She got me in. She didn't have any issues with trying to figure out what was going on. So I ended up having surgery in November, and they found 2 fibroids. I had 2 fibroid surgeries previously, so this is my third fibroid surgery, 2 in 1 year. And we figured that that was potentially the culprit. Still wasn't sure if that was going to fix the problem, but I was confident in going and getting those out anyway, because of course you can't have fibroids in a successful transfer. So I had the surgery in November. I had everything set up with CNY. I set everything up to have my embryo shipped from CCRM to CNY. I wanted my embryo to go to Syracuse, which is the headquarters of CNY, but they weren't accepting any outside embryos. And so I had settled with Albany's CNY office. And so everything went well, got him shipped, started monitoring. I found out in the group, somebody gave me some advice about local monitoring, because I was like, how am I going to do both? I'm out of state. How am I going to monitor? And they said, well, CNY, they monitored me and I was out of state. So I said, I called CNY, CCRM, and they said, yeah, I can monitor with them. So they communicated with each other to have my appointment set up for me to go and get my scans and my blood work and do my weekly testing up until when it was time for me to prepare for my transfer. I'll give you her information, Leah. Somebody had wrote me and asked me about my OB. So everything was set up. Everything was good to go. I was preparing. I had stopped working at Amazon, but I found a job that paid just enough for me to maintain my Amazon Cobra insurance until I, as the vice of Sharonda, go ahead and let that go. Save that money, which I did. That was $800
Was it a good decision? Was it a good decision? Because you end up paying less, right?
Yes.
Right. Right. Listen, we just got the embryos. We can let that go. We don't need that no more.
Exactly. So the conversation at the interview was, we going to, see who was willing to donate embryos, and we was going to let go of that Cobra, $800 a month, and save that for CNY's transfer. So everything worked out perfectly. I worked my part-time, which paid me just enough, and then I was able to save that $800 a month, put that on my payment plan for CNY for my transfer, which was $2,400. I was going to be paying $5,000 at CCRM.
Right, plus the Cobra, right? Because that would have been. Yes. Oh, that was with. Yeah, see, that was cheaper, girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was $3,000. That was a steal.
$5,000 plus the $800 to keep the Cobra. So yeah, so I saved, and of course that was money that I put towards the down payment for, or the deposit for CNY to get everything started. So we were rolling around December, January. Everything was set up. I started my testing, started my monitoring, started a protocol. And when I tell you the protocol for CNY, I think they call it the kitchen sink protocol, where they throw everything at you, and if you were dealing with anything, it was going to dry everything up. So I had to have at least been on like 15, 16 different medications, from Claritin to Mucinex to Benadryl, all the antihistamines to dry up. And when I say dry up, I was dry. My skin was dry. My nails was dry. My feet was dry. My feet was cracking. My feet ain't never cracked and peeling. I ain't have no moisture in my body because those antihistamines was drying everything up. If it was anything that needed to be dried up, it dried it up. In addition to all the other medications and injections I had to take, Lovenox, which was injections in the stomach. It was a lot. And I was starting to get sick from the medication because I was taking so much medication that it was starting to make me nauseous. And then the constipation. It was a lot going on. But I knew it was going to be worth it in the end. January came, and CNY, they had, out of nowhere, they had made an appointment for my transfer without consulting with me. So I had to call them to get stuff set up because it was too short notice. I had to, set up transportation, taking off work, lodging, who was going to help me drive. My girlfriend, Keita, she drove with me. But we got that all settled, changed the date. It was supposed to be February the 5th or 6th or something like that. And it was like a week. I found out, and it was gonna say like a week later I needed to transfer. So I called them and we pushed it back to February 14th. It was Valentine's Day, and 5 days before my transfer, I got a call and an email saying that the doctor at Albany did not feel comfortable transferring my embryo. She read the report, and the report said that the embryo had a low chance of long-term survival of living or something like that. He said, and he was not willing to transfer the embryo. And so, of course, that was devastating to me because I didn't work this hard, and then the doctor give me the news that he doesn't think that my embryo is viable, and basically he didn't want to mess up his record of successful transfers by taking a chance with my embryo. So of course I went to venting, saying, Sam, why did I just found this out? But come to find out, it ended up being a blessing in disguise because Syracuse was willing to transfer my embryo, and that's where I wanted him to go initially, but they weren't accepting any outside embryos. So they were like, oh, well, Syracuse, they're comfortable with it, so if you want, we can ship it to them. And after a while, I was like, no, yeah, this is where I wanted him to go anyway. So it was a blessing in disguise. God wanted him to be at Syracuse anyway, and he just worked it out to make it so. And so after I cried and vented about it, I realized, what? This is meant to be. This is where I wanted him to go anyway. So my girlfriend and I, we set everything up, and we headed up to New York. Everything was good. They wanted me to arrive a day before because they wanted to check to see if I still had fluid in my uterus. And when I got down there and they checked, I didn't have no fluid. I've been suffering with this for a while. No one can find the culprit. And CNY's protocol and probably the removal of those fibroids kind of pushed everything out. And so we were good to go. And from Albany, we had to head to Syracuse, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So that was the next day. And unbeknownst to us, they were expecting a snowstorm in Syracuse. So we're leaving Albany and we drove into a snowstorm. I had not a bad accident, but I had an incident with driving in the snow some years back. So of course I was freaking out because I couldn't, how you have the crystal ball and you shake it up and you can't see anything. That's literally what we drove into. We didn't have no choice but to drive ahead. So we drove into the storm for about 30 minutes. We couldn't see anything. The roads were covered and slipping and sliding. When I say I'm glad my girlfriend went and not my mom, because my mom doesn't drive. So I would have been an absolute wreck if my mom it would have been me, and my mom probably wouldn't have made it. But my friend, she walked me through the process. She was like, stay in the lanes. It was a big truck, and so the truck was kind of breaking the slush up. So I just stayed behind the truck and stayed within the line, slipping and sliding. We got out of that snowstorm, and then we went into another snowstorm. We eventually made it with 5 minutes to spare.
Now, what was your thought process? Were you saying to yourself, now, God, if this is a sign for me not to do it, like at this point, you just might as well just say that? Because I
was like, I didn't know when the storm was going to stop. So right. In my mind, we were about to be stranded on the side of the road in a foot of snow with nowhere to go, missed the appointment. Yeah, I was I was holding on to the steering wheel so tight because I was just so nervous, and so many thoughts that was running into my mind. Like, we made it all the way up here. I'm this close, no fluid, and now this. So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. I'm just looking around like, are we going to have to get out the car? We're going to have to walk to the nearest place and stay overnight. How long is it going to be? It was a lot going on. I was sitting there, I was praying, and eventually we passed the second snowstorm, and there was blue skies and sunny. So I was like, okay, Lord. And so we made it there. We made it there by the hair on our skin. Is that it? I forget the
But
saying.
what about, I mean, what is a real life analogy to what you literally were going through? So many storms, so many obstacles, so much for you to get to where you are. And when you got there, like, it was perfect there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It was
it was so much for you to, hills and mountains, fluid, all this stuff, only for you to get to your appointment and there is no obstacles there.
there was blue skies, sun was out shining, and I just said I always tell people this journey was not by my doing alone. Like I could not have even imagined how clear a path the process had been once I consulted with God about me wanting to be a mom and how I was going to get there. Like, if can't nobody tell me that God's not real. Can't nobody tell me that you are not supposed to hold on to the tiniest bit of hope and faith that you got, because you could be down to like the tiniest of salt wanting to give up. Because honestly, after the first transfer, and I know you've been through more than I have, but for me, after the first transfer, I was like, maybe this is not gonna happen for me. Like I've come this far. I only got one embryo. It's considered mosaic. It might not. This. I was starting to decide. Like, okay, I had to make a decision. What would life be like if it didn't work out? If I just stopped, like if I just gave up and said I just couldn't take no more. I couldn't take another potential of another failed transfer, another broken heart, another other disappointments. I don't. It would have broken me if this didn't work out, and I probably would have given up, even though I had 3 people willing to donate. It's just something that breaks you every time you have that disappointment, and I know you felt that before, where it's like you can't explain it. I was like in a dark place. I couldn't get out. I felt like I was stuck. And so for me to get to that point and feel like I can touch it, but it's not there with the snowstorm, and then to come out of that, I knew that this had to work for me. I knew that I didn't go through all this for it to fail. Of course, you still have your fears, you still have your doubts. We're human. But I felt really, really good about getting there and seeing the blue skies and the sun after leaving, like you said, going through not one but 2 storms. And so when I got there, I checked in and I had acupuncture. Um, so when I went up to the room to get the acupuncture before my transfer, I just dropped to my knees. I cried and I said to God, I said, please let this be my time. Please let this be my time. I at that point I just gave it to him. I just any fear, any just whatever I was feeling that it wouldn't work for me, I just gave it to him and I said, okay, I just give this to you. You've guided me here. I made it here. Just let this be my time. And, I cried and I got up and he came in, he did the acupuncture, and I just felt really, really good about just being there. Of course, like I said, my embryo's mosaic. So it's always that thought in your mind that this embryo isn't considered absolutely 100% the best grade because of the mosaicism. And so the geneticist said that either it wouldn't implant it wouldn't implant or early miscarriage. Those were the 2 options. And if I got past that, the chances are the embryo would self-correct. So I had the transfer. They had calm music. The ambiance was nice. It just felt right. And after the transfer, the doctor had a conversation with me, and I told them, because he said, did your embryos mosaic, but I don't care about that. I felt comfortable. He said, out of 10 women that would have a transfer, there'll be 3 that will have a successful pregnancy out of the 10. And he said, and I told him what the doctor said about not feeling comfortable, and he said that, you know, he must not have done the research that they've done to know that many of the babies turn out to be absolutely healthy babies with no issues. So that also made me feel good about it, that he was willing to have a conversation with me to explain how he felt about transferring mosaic embryos and what he's seen in transferring mosaic embryos. So everything went well. We were about to leave, and guess who we run into? We run into Dr. Kiltz, the owner and creator of CNY. And we have a conversation. The man himself. He came down and he said he was supposed to have a telephone call, but she was a no-show. So he knew that they had just had a transfer, and he wanted to come and say hi. And so he came and we spoke, and I told him about what the doctor said, and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to talk to them doctors because they don't know what they're talking about. That's BS." But he said the actual curse word. And so he said, "You want that embryo to stick? You got to eat the fat." So he was telling me, eat the fat, eat the bacon, eat the eggs, eat all the fat, and he went through this whole process of, you know, just imagine if somebody is going to take a sheep or some kind of livestock to eat. He said they're not going to go with the skinny, lean. They're going to go with the fattest, most healthiest, because that's going to feed you and give you everything that you need. And he also said that if you, from what he's seen, many of the most healthiest or leanest women have fertility issues because their body's not getting, they're thinking that they're eating healthy and they're not eating all these different types of foods and meats. Their body's not getting what it needs. But he said that you'll see a heavier woman and she's very fertile, which is true. Like my grandmother was a thick woman. She had 10 kids. So I don't eat beef or pork. So when he was like, eat the bacon, eat the this, and I was like, I don't know, that'll make me get sick. And he was like, no, that won't make you get sick. So I said, I'll try it. So for them 2 weeks, I was eating bacon and eggs every day. I was like, let me eat this fat. Let me eat some butter.
Whatever works, whatever gets the baby here at this
Right.
point, right?
He was like, eat the butter. I'm in there eating butter. I'm in there eating bacon, eggs. I was like, I'm about to eat all this. And of course, those 2 weeks it was nerve wracking because I tested before, with my first embryo. I tested before the betas. So I told myself I wasn't going to test. Not going to test. I'm not going to test because I didn't want to be heartbroken again finding out before and then having to go and actually have them confirm. And so I waited and I went and did the testing and I'm checking my emails because seeing why they put everything in a portal. So you got to check the portal and it's like the end of the day and I'm like, I ain't hear nothing. Lord have mercy. What's going on? And then I finally checked and got the email and they gave me my levels for my HSG. And I wanted to scream and holler at work, but didn't nobody know that I was going through IVF. Didn't nobody know I was getting myself injection shots in the bathroom in the small stall and, butt sore and stomach sore and feeling sick. Nobody knew about it. So I couldn't, at that point, nobody knew. So I just ran to the conference room and called my mom and sister and cried on the phone and told them that I was pregnant. And when I tell you
And for
that,
those who don't know about Dr. Kiltz, he is a big advocate of keto. So he doesn't push it, but he's definitely pro. That's why he was telling her to eat the fat, because he's very pro keto
yes,
diets, bacon, eggs, and he
ice
has a
cream,
protocol.
yeah,
And yeah, it's butter, bacon, beef, and ice cream diet
yes.
that he has, where you eat nothing but those three, and then you have a little bit of small ice cream as a treat. And depending on who it is, yeah, carnivore diet is what he calls it, but
Yes.
it's basically keto. Um, But yeah, it's a carnivore diet, meat only, no veggies. He swears by it. And a lot of women have been successful, but there has been studies to know that, you know, a higher fat diet does work. I've actually done um keto as well, just to for cell repair. It definitely has helped me. It's probably one of the best diets that I have ever been on. You know, it's just really hard to sustain that because, you know, we live in a sugar society.
Right.
And so it ends up being very difficult because you're going against the grain, against everybody else. So a lot of people fall off, and that's why they say it doesn't work. But honestly, it's the best I ever felt when I have a higher fat diet. I'm more
Okay.
leaner. The inflammation has gone down, you know, on me and everything like that. So I've also, but again, do your research, do what works for you. But that's why he was telling her to do that. I just want to let people know if anybody was like watching, like, why is he telling her to eat fat? It's just just
Right.
carnivore. He doesn't even like vegetables. Like he will even tell you don't eat vegetables. Like he has like a whole little book that if you go into, I think
Yes,
there's a
it does.
Facebook group,
Yep.
but if anybody wanted it, I got it somewhere, but if anybody wanted it, he has a little booklet, and he just basically talks about just a diet, what the science is behind it. And you know, for some people it works. There's a lot of women who get pregnant naturally, you know, or it helps them boost their fertility, boost
Right.
their egg fertility, when they do the egg quality, when they do it, you know. And again, some of us don't. I'm of advanced maternal age. I wasn't thinking about doing that, but I definitely thought about it for like health benefits for
Right.
uterine lining. Definitely, I could say I was definitely heavier. And so I used it for like just losing weight and just not being as inflamed and being as swollen as I was before. And I definitely feel like much better now. I still eat some carbs though. I
Okay.
like my juice.
Yeah, he said that. We're carnivores. We're lions. We don't eat no
Yeah.
vegetables. We don't eat
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
We're
But
lions.
you know, he is a very compassionate. You know, that's what I like about Kels is, you know, he's probably one of the most compassionate REs. He's definitely, you know, makes you feel like your family. He definitely wants you to have your baby. And, you know, when it comes to Kilts, I like the fact that he does not turn anyone away. You know, so many people have been turned away from clinics, and he's just not, that's not a clinic that does that.
Right.
You just have to be prepared when you go to CNY. Like she said, you have to have your ducks in a row because you will run into issues where transfer dates and things get moved. But honestly, you can have that at any clinic, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And, you know, I wanted to ask you this because you talked about your transfer and how calm and peaceful it was compared to a clinic that you basically went was like, it wasn't as busy, probably still was busy, but it, no clinic is as busy as CNY. How was your first transfer from your second one? Because I know, like you said, the RE was like not comfortable with doing some things and like not really wanting to change anything. And that's why when we had the conversation, it was like, okay, you need to go because she wasn't willing to do anything in order for the next transfer to even be successful.
Right.
So,
Right.
how was that experience doing two different clinics in your transfers?
So the RE at CCRM, he did recommend a hysteroscopy, but when he let my OB know, she didn't feel comfortable. But as far as just having a doctor that really wants to find out what your issue is, rather than making it personal, like my other OB, it was her personal feelings that she didn't feel comfortable. It didn't have anything to do with me and me wanting to find out what was the culprit of why I continue had to have the fluid. And so um I'd say it wasn't a bad experience, my transfer with CCRM, but it was kind of just like a blanketed, like it took longer. The process took longer at CCRM than at CNY. CNY was like they were ready for me. Like they really, embryo Ross, they communicating. It seemed like it was a family. So it didn't seem so surgical. It didn't seem so hospital like. CCRM felt like I was in the hospital having a procedure done. I didn't feel like I was actually, having an embryo. It wasn't the calming music. It wasn't the dim lights. It was just, your white walls. You dim it. They got the screen. You're looking. Okay, they had this big old the thing that the embryo was in. They wheeled that in and put it under the microscope so I could see how it looked and things like that. So it was, I guess it was a little bit like high tech, but it wasn't soft and serene. It wasn't calming. Like my mom being there helped me be calm. Um, they had me drink. I drank a lot of water, so I was in pain because I had to pee. I overdrank, so my stomach was hurting really bad. So I had to use the bathroom like 2 times before the procedure because I overdrank. I didn't have that issue at CNY. It was comfortable. We had conversations. We laughed. She explained everything about the embryo. She gave me a picture of the embryo. Told me what was going on with the embryo. She talked about her family and the family trip. It was just more comfortable, and I felt at ease. I didn't feel like nervous. I didn't feel it didn't feel cold. Felt like I could have a friendship with them outside of, like she was saying, just make sure in 6 months you bring the baby back. I want to see the baby, things like that. When at CCRM, it was like, all right, Doretha, we're gonna check with you in 2 weeks. We hope that you got a baby on board. But that was it. So it was definitely a different experience. It felt more inviting. It felt like they were compassionate about the process. He took the time to sit there and explain everything and what to expect with the mosaic embryo and things like that. So it was just, I just felt more comfortable and at ease. And the acupuncture before and after also was really, really nice. Because they didn't say anything about acupuncture at CCRM. It's like, oh yeah, it might work. It might. And I think I think they felt maybe a bit of a way because they weren't able to figure out this fluid situation. So to go somewhere and to have them kind of fix the problem with the protocol that they had. So when I went back in my 5 weeks, she thought that I wasn't even. She's like, okay, well, what are we here for? And she was like, you're not pregnant, are you? I said, yeah, I'm pregnant. She was like, oh, you're pregnant. I said, yeah, it was successful. And she was like, oh, okay, well, they didn't let me know that. So then, she did the check and said, okay, well, there goes your baby. But it wasn't, I'm thinking that there would have been some communication, a little bit more empathy. Like, you looking at my records, you're monitoring me. You mean to tell me that you did the blood work? You sent the results over. Did you not look at the results?
No, they don't. So
Okay.
when your doctor orders something and you're at another place, they just send the stuff off. Because
Oh,
you're technically not their patient.
right. Okay.
Even though
I
you've
got
been there, you're not their patient. You're just doing what they said and you're sending it off. So sometimes it depends. Like when you're doing LabCorp, you're doing anything like that. Even if it's in house in the doctor's office, they put in your doctor's codes or whatever, like to send the results there. So no,
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
they don't know. Now
Okay.
they do know, like your line and everything, because again, you're still in their system. They should know like your ultrasound stuff, but as far as your lab stuff, probably not. Unless it's
Okay.
in house, they probably don't know it. But a lot of them ship it out to like Quest and LabCorp. Even
Okay.
though it's done there, they may ship it out. So yeah, that part they may not know. But even
Okay.
still, like I feel like there should have been some kind of excitement, like because still you're their patient, even though you're not their patient right now. But at one
Yeah.
point in time,
I
you
just
should have
started
known the
out.
nurses or the people who were there and just be like, oh my gosh, like you should be happy.
Yeah, I started out
I
with
don't know. It's I mean, this is your sign. You weren't supposed to be there anymore. I mean, they made the embryos. That was about it. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's
I
so the
mean, they
blessings,
did their
you know,
job.
like
So
I said, y'all, they did the monitoring. Like you said, they created the embryos and all the things, and like you said, it wasn't meant for that second transfer to be done there, because I probably would have still had the fluid. They would have aspirated like they did the first time and then proceeded, and it probably would have been the same result. So when I say everything happens for a reason, even though it's hard for me to have that interview, the information and the stuff that I received helped propel me, because I was stuck. I was just stuck. So if I wouldn't have had the interview, I don't know I probably would have still just been waiting to try to figure things out and not have my transfer yet.
you would have messaged me for sure. Been like, all right, what am I supposed to do? Just tell me what to do.
Yeah, because I tell you, I was like in this stuck place, and then just getting the advice that just helped
Yeah.
push me to figure out what I needed to do and what my next steps are. I needed to be proactive, and I needed to not stay still.
I mean, even at that time, when you did it, I mean, it was, that's what I said. I even tell women, because like when I'll say anybody wants to interview and they'll tell me, I can't wait till when I get to that rainbow part. And I'm like, you need to share your story now, because that story alone is what keeps women going, because they see someone like you who is broken. I talked to another girl. She was on live yesterday. Her name was Leah. She's going through just regular IVF, and she's on a public platform, and she's broken. She's just talking about, she's had miscarriages and she's just tired. And, I said, and she was just saying, how, to be here, sitting here having this conversation with people. And I even said, like, Blanket, I was like, sometimes it's like worse. Like, I have helped so many women like get their baby and I still don't have mine. And she was just like, girl, like, when you're on a public platform and you're sitting here advocating people, giving them the tools of what they need and they accomplishment, you feel good. But there are still times where I'm like, why can't I do this for myself?
Right.
Why can't I do these things for me? When D, for those who don't know, D was she's still a huge advocate in our group, and like telling people what to do. She's taking the tools that were given to her and she passes it along. And then here it comes, like she has her loss. And it's like, and then they inbox you and say, thank you so much for telling me this. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
pregnant now. And you're going, okay, girl, that's a cool story. I wish I had the same thing to say, but I don't. So, and it's like it gets weary. It's
And
something that you say. You end up putting yourself in a dark place, and you're not trying to get there. And you're like, how did I get here?
I completely understand, because early on, with knowing that my embryo was mosaic, every scan, every test, every all the blood work, I was just anticipating that I wasn't going to hear good news, because I know that my embryo is not considered the perfect embryo because of the mosaicism. So when I had my nip test, when I had the transnuchal test, I'm expecting to hear that something is not right. Testing came back abnormal. I'm just waiting to hear that, because in my head is ringing what this doctor had told me before. And I'm like, okay, so each time I'm nervous, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to see. I don't know what the results are going to be. And every time God continues to make a way, and everything is normal, and the anatomy scan is normal, and this echo heart is normal. But every test, I'm nervous because I just don't know. But God keeps working it out, that He is doing well, that He's growing. And for me, I said, okay, I'm going to reward him for every milestone. He's not here yet. So I'm still, doing testing. Tomorrow I have the growth growth tests to make sure that he's growing correctly. They might say he's not growing correctly. I don't know. So I'm just, each time it's always a surprise because I don't know what to expect. I'm always hopeful for the best, but I know that, people have had successful scans and then all of a sudden, they find out that, their baby's not growing right, or the femurs, one's longer, one's shorter, or something that they didn't find out before that they find out. So each time, and then in my mind, it took me a long time to actually. I'm still pinching myself up until maybe I made it to 5 months, 20 weeks, because it just it still did not seem real. Even though I'm 5 months, I'm out of the first trimester and all the things, it still did not feel real to me. So now I'm like in awe that I can feel him move and kick, and now it's like, oh, like this is really real. This is really real. And in my back of my mind, I think of you and I think of all of the other moms in waiting, and I was just there. So when you get to that point of feeling like you lose hope, you gotta push through. And that's what I want to tell you. I know it's been hard. I know that you've helped so many of us get to this point. And I'm truly and utterly thankful. I cannot thank you enough, because without you and the knowledge in the group, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have this life inside of me, because I didn't think it was going to happen. And so I know that it's hard for you to go through what you're going through and hear stories from me and all the other ladies who have either had their children or expecting. And I'm I know it's nothing to be sorry for, but I'm sorry that, and I shouldn't be sorry, but I'm sorry that you're still in waiting and you've helped so many people. And so I just want you to know, just don't give up. Do not give up. Whatever you do, you can take your breaks, but it's around the corner. I feel it. It's around the corner. I feel it. So don't give up. I know you get weary. I know it's hard, and you are a strong woman, and you got to know that you're a strong woman to continue to congratulate us and to interview us going through what you've gone through, and even having to take a break. I don't take getting to know you, I don't take becoming a part of the group for granted. Not at all. It's God's work. And I'm so thankful that I took a chance. I'm so thankful that I listened to you and that I'm at the point that I'm at now. So I just want to let you know, and any mom in waiting, no, don't give up. Because it's around the corner. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So do not, lady, give up. You writing songs. Like, come on now. It's meant for you. That baby is coming. And so don't give up. Don't.
It's
You
funny,
better.
like every single time, like I hit like a roadblock, you know. The last time I did this situation, that was when I stopped kind of, I took a break, and then I started writing books that help women that I never would have thought. I keep saying to myself that these roadblocks that I have, it's like the work that I'm supposed to be doing is not done. Like I'm still supposed to be doing something because I'm not reaching, and that's what I've been having like the last 2 weeks. It's like I'm not reaching everyone I should be reaching, and trying to think of what can I do to let somebody know, like Dee or Leah or Wanetta or Keisha, know that they aren't alone in this, because it's such an unconventional way to be a mom. and especially women that look like us. And I'm like, there's somebody I'm supposed to be reaching, and I don't know who it is or why it is or what the reason is, because I just feel like, that there's a reason. It has to be a reason. There has to be a reason of why. There has to be a reason why. And that's what just keeps me like, and so I just started manifesting again because I had given up a little bit. And so I started stories that and I'm manifesting my baby again. Her name is Averly, and I started writing from her perspective of who she was and building a character. And she's like saying like how she was born, and she's asking her mom these things. And I was like, because now I have stories that I need to give these children, because I brought these babies into the world and they don't have any stories. They don't have anything. They don't have anything that looks like them to read at night. And so she's she's here to tell all your babies that she was born from donor eggs, and that she loves being that, and she's special. And so then it started to snowball, and then I started writing songs, because A really has a little bunny. And so now her bunny friends now have songs about being donor conceived. And because every time I like look for stories, I saw like little things, but nothing that was like characters or all animals. And I wanted to start doing stories, and I want her to start interviewing kids, and I want her to interview Grayson, and I want her to interview Nia, and I want her to interview Ishmael, and I want her to interview all those people and put them on to YouTube so they can see and they can know and they can meet each other, and they know that they are special and they're unique in their own rights as who they are, and there is no big deal. So that's what I just started doing. And then so I started my whole series. It's on every shade of family creation, and there's a 5-part series if y'all have not seen it. And that's just the beginning of it. And then I'm almost finished with the kids album. Um and they're all just stories just saying that they are created by love and science. I think the other one is called Made from Love. There's one that's called it's like a boots on the ground, it's like a little cowboy about our family tree. And it's just that they're all unique, and no matter if you're born from donors or donor embryos or surrogate, that you matter. And so that's what I just want them to know. I want all those children to know that it's not weird, that they were all loved, and no matter how they got here, they are here. And so I have that, and then I'm working on if you didn't hear, I did Worth Every Shot. That is for moms, and I just finished another little album. It'll be a series too as well. Just saying that you are just empowering. So if you were here in the beginning, it was uh the first one, This Child I Pray For. And so when I don't know what to do, I just start just coming up with stuff.
Well, you have
Essentially, I just start coming up with stuff, and I'm like, okay, we'll just see what this works.
You have a purpose. You've helped all of us get to where we are, and we all would not be where we are. We all would not be. Those who've already had children would not have their children that they're holding in their arms and tucking in the bed every night. Those of us who are expecting would not be expecting if it was not for you. So you're not, this work that you're doing is not in vain. It's not in vain. And so just don't give up. I know it's hard. I know it's expensive. I know it's draining. I know it's disappointing. All of the things. But just don't give up, because I know it's going to happen for you. I know it's going to happen for you. If it happened for me, it happened for Leah, it happened for all of us. How many, you can count how many of us that because of this group, we are where we are now. And so that's not by happenstance. That wasn't a coincidence. That's God's work through you, helping us reach our dreams of the blessings that God gave us. So if you helping us manifest blessings from God, He got one for you. Yours is coming.
I'm starting to slowly come back. Y'all see me starting to post, so I'm starting to like get out of it. But I definitely was like not myself. I haven't been myself since the last time, and I just probably like the last 2 weeks, I finally like kind of like just start to just snap back a little bit, and so
It takes
um,
us really.
it takes such a long time to, and a lot of people are like, well, and those who are in this space, like they get it, like, and it's hard to explain to people like why I don't talk about it, because it's like I'm trying to protect you because I know you don't know what to say. You know what I'm saying? I know you don't know what to say,
Right.
and you're gonna say something and it's gonna piss me off.
Right. Right, but
I'm really just trying to help you out. I'm just really trying to help you out, because you gonna say something and I'm gonna be like,
this
like, what's up?
This has been this has been our safe space. This has been our venting space, our safe space, because no one knows what we're going through,
Right?
except for us. No one can explain it. No one knows the disappointment. No one knows the grieving of accepting the child in biologically through blood isn't going to be yours, and you have to accept and grieve that process before you can even think about donor anything.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out how you're going to pay for this.
Right.
Like, you've helped us navigate so much. I wouldn't have known anything about Amazon. And I'm thankful I got there right.
I still had to drag you though. I still had to drag you though.
Yes. Yes, you had to drag me, because once again, let's like this, I didn't think that it was gonna happen for me. I'm like, okay, when I start, watch, they're gonna switch things up. Watch, it's not gonna be the same. Watch, they're gonna come after me and say I owe them money when I leave. I just, all types of things, and I got in just at the cusp before they
just in time.
because I've seen
Jesus Christ
horror stories about Maven and people trying to understand what's all covered and everything. So I'm, like I said, I'm just thankful. I'm in awe of the whole process, because this is God's work. I couldn't have fathomed, as a single woman, wanting to be a mom and going through IVF. I know people that have they spent 150,000 plus out of pocket taking out loans, and they were unsuccessful. Didn't get a baby at all, but spent that much money. And so I knew I didn't have no 150, but Amazon, they took the brunt of the biggest part. Yeah, I still had to pay and come out of pocket for some stuff. Yeah, but not for yes, not for the amount of money that they covered. And so I'm just thankful. I'm still in awe. I tell my story of how this is all God. Can't nobody tell me that he's not real. Can't nobody tell me that. Can't nobody tell me that this wasn't meant to be. Now, I would never thought that at 44 I would be pregnant with the donor embryo, because that wasn't how I fathomed becoming a mom. I just knew it was going to be me and, a bio child, and I didn't think anything of this path. So for you to come into my life, for the group to come into my life, for me to find the group. How did I even find the group? It was meant for me to find the group. You don't just, social media has millions and millions of people. How do you find a group that is specifically tailored at that point to women of color at that point when I was just lurking? It was more so just women of color trying to navigate donors and how to pay and all the things. And so, I'm like I said, I'm still in awe. I still pinch myself. That this is really real, and each month that I get closer and closer, I'm like, wow. Like I just had my
Yeah.
maternity shoot, and I saw the pictures that came back, and I'm like, wow. Like I'm about to be a mom. I'm carrying life. Like it's, it's,
And that's
yeah.
what I want to talk to you about because for those you don't know, this baby that D is carrying is not going to be biologically related to her at all. She used third party reproduction, which means she used a donor egg. She also used donor swimmers to create life. And, you know, I asked her this when her embryo transferred, and it didn't work out. And I said to you, at any point in time, did you say to yourself, dang, I don't failed the donor. This is donor's eggs. Like it didn't, and if you saw that interview, she was hurt, you know, and now that he is moving and kicking and all the things and recognizes your voice, do you think about DNA? Like, do you think about those things? Do you think about,
I've
I feel like what he looks like, but I mean, I think you would feel that way if he was your baby
right,
anyway, you
right.
know?
I'd say I had a few moments where I'm like, okay, he's not gonna have anything of mine. Like I had like the little
Yeah.
one of the 3D images, and I saw his little lips, and I was like, are those my? In my mind, I'm like, are those my lips? That looks like my nose, but I know that's not my lips and my nose. But could it be my lips and my nose? Like,
I
can you tell
mean, it could be.
me?
Someone
Like,
asked when that happens, do you stay in contact with the donor? No. So usually, typically, donors are anonymous, meaning you don't know unless you have an agreement with
mm-hmm.
that person. So some of our girls do have known donors, which means they may have used like Keisha. She used her cousin.
Let me get
Um, you getting your what?
my charger. I don't want my
Oh,
phone to
your
die.
charger. Okay. Oh, okay. So like some women do know, but like in Dee's case, her daughter is anonymous. So what you just do is what sometimes the clinic will provide you is was a sheet. So I have a sheet on my donor. It says like what she likes, what she doesn't like, why she decided to become a donor. It gives you her blood type, any medical history is given there. But I mean, it's just like you have to think about you yourself. Like, do I know everything that is in my family? Yes. But do I know all the things? No. So they just ask to give what information that they have. Now, there are some things like you would want to share with your doctor, is that they would know. If anybody doesn't know, the doctor needs to know maybe about medical history to say
Mm-hmm.
that they are donor conceived, because that may be something. Because like when she does like her um nip test, like
Mm-hmm.
she needs to let them know she used a donor because it doesn't match, and so um they
Yeah.
can look for variances
Yep.
in when it comes back, so they'll know if it really is normal or not. So you do need to let the doctor know, like, hey, I used a donor egg.
Yeah.
One,
So
you don't want to freak yourself out.
right. So I went to, let me see which it was the anatomy scan that I went to June 19th
Hmm.
or June 20th, something like that. June 17th. It was before my birthday. And, I laid on the table, and it took like an hour for them to look at everything, get pictures of everything. I ended up getting sick and had to turn to my side. But when the doctor came in, he had asked, he said, okay, everything looks good. Just want to know if is this your bio or is this donor conceived? And for a second in my mind, I was going to say, no, this is mine. But I said, no, donor. And they said,
Hmm.
okay, okay. But it felt, I didn't want to say for a second that it was donor because I'm just so used to, my no one asked in the medical field of whether or not it
Right.
was donor conceived outside of my OB, because they were asking why did I want to get so many tests done. and I was saying because it's donor conceived and he's considered mosaic, so I just want to make sure that everything's okay. So when he
Right.
asked, I paused for a second, and I said to myself, I was saying, if I told him it was mine biologically, would later down the line they eventually find out and be like, well, you didn't tell us, or something didn't match up. So I just went ahead and said it was, and it felt a
I
little
mean,
uncomfortable saying it, but I knew I
D-
nothing to be ashamed.
DNA would tell for sure
Yeah.
that that it wasn't. But just like a regular, just like pediatrician checkup, they may have asked if something comes up. But I mean, at this point, I think that your son is gonna be in a classroom where the kid next to them has like two mommies or two daddies or
Hmm.
single parents. Like the variety of way children grow up now is far different than the way we grew up. The majority of us grew up. So him being in the situation that he is just going to be like, well, yeah, I just have a mom. Now our kids gonna always ask like, where's my dad, or those different questions. I think they're always gonna do that, whether or not they were donor conceived or not.
Right.
I think that you starting these, and that's what the reason why I started this series is because if they see those stories, if they see Cat in the Hat and they think if they think a Cat in the Hat is normal, they'll think that this is normal too.
Hmm.
All these things that they'll see is just be presented as if it was no big deal. That's how we have to make it seem like
Right. Right.
there's just differences and that's okay.
Right.
Um,
And I
because
do,
that's just what the studies show.
yeah, and I do plan on letting him know. Now, I've been protective of who I've let known as far as friends
Right.
and family. I've been protective of that just because I want to be the one when I feel it's time to have that discussion or start to bring that up. I don't want an auntie to slip up or someone to get mad and say, well,
Right.
biologically, it's not your. I'm sensitive with who has that information. Just because you don't know how people are going to use it, you don't know if they'll probably let your child know before you had the opportunity to. So I plan on letting him know about the angel who gave a piece of him to me to grow so that he'll know that I did get some additional help. But I don't let everyone know about my process, the whole process. I let them know about IVF, but I
Yeah.
didn't mention that because I know some information can get in the wrong hands and be used the wrong way.
Well, I mean, I just think that just mother instincts that you're protecting your child, just like what any mother would do. Um, and you're correct. Like everybody doesn't. Well, everybody's. A lot of people are still ignorant. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know, what things mean, and I always just say this all the time. People make sense of what they want to, and their
Right.
whatever makes the logic to make sense. So they're looking at you and saying, "Well, where's the mom at?" That's what they just think it is. They think that this lady who gave her eggs for money is now the mom, and it's like, no, I'm this child's mother. You
Right.
know,
Gave
this
me
was
a
just
piece of
listen.
a
I paid
form.
good money for this.
Right. Because I've had
I love.
people
I
say,
paid.
I've had people say, "Oh well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't donate my eggs and have my kids out here. Somebody
And
else."
it's not your kids. It's not your kids. And understand that eggs are tissue. Swimmers are tissue. They do not create life. As we know, they put that embryo in D and it failed. They put embryos in me and they failed. So if they were really parents and stuff, then they wouldn't have failed. So
Right.
it's up to us to grow and
Right.
bring that baby and grow it for 9 months and bring it to life. That's what makes a mom.
Right.
That's what makes it unique and special that we are able to still carry even though they're not DNA or biologically related to us.
Exactly.
Because now when you sit here and he's in your arms, you can say, I remember when you were in mommy's belly and you used to like, I played music and used to flip and all this kind of stuff. All things that
Exactly.
kids want to, they love to hear about before they were here.
Oh
So,
yeah. That
and
definitely.
So
Definitely.
yeah, you definitely can't always share the information with
Right.
everyone because just people just don't understand, you know. And the more that we have platforms like this that are out here, so you can like, hey, let me just show you, you know, these type of things. And that's what I wanted just to introduce is like sometimes you have to put it to the people on a childlike perspective. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like you have to
Yeah. I'm
have
like,
these out and
my
they
body,
know.
and I'm saying to myself, my body is growing this placenta. This is
Right,
this is my womb that's doing what it's supposed to do. Like
right.
this is my body. I'm stretching. I'm, I call myself belly and boobs because that's all I got. I got belly and boobs. That's been the
Yeah.
extent of my weight gain with belly and boobs. But I'm doing this is all my body naturally doing this because it's housing a child. It's growing a child. So can't nobody tell me any different about my process, even if they, IVF, you're playing with science, you're playing with God. It was meant. I even
Yeah.
had somebody at church say when I told her, I was going through a medical condition, and I'm hoping that it fixes itself so that I can become a mom. And she asked me, the first thing she asked me was, "Well, are you married?" And I said, "No." She said,
Yeah.
"Okay. Well, I can't pray for that, but I'll pray for your condition." Because the Lord says that you should be married before you bring children to this world.
Like I said, when people make logic for it in their brain, I just say that's what you needed to do to self correct whatever you got going on. Because I'm just not gonna let that. I don't subscribe to that, and so that's what makes you feel good. That's what makes you feel good. And even still, like and I don't know who you've told, but you will be surprised how many people forget. They forget that you did it that route, and
Uh-huh.
once you'll start seeing it, he looked just like you. He
Uh-huh.
looked just a little this, and you're gonna be like, all you just say is thank you. Whatever you need to do to self correct that, that's fine. You're
Yeah.
right. He does look like me. I paid enough money for him to look like me.
Right. And I remember my therapist saying, "You never know. God has a sense of humor. If it
Mm-hmm.
used to be things like I got my eyes from my grandmother, so I figured, okay, if I had a child, chances are they might have my eyes. But of course, with me doing double donor, neither one of them has my eyes. But my therapist was like, you never know. God has a sense of humor. That baby might come out with green and gray eyes, and you looking like,
Baby, the
Lord,
way Tia's daughter looks just like her grandmama. The way she looked just like her grandmother. And we was like, ma'am, does she look like your grandmother? She was like, it's the craziest thing. I mean, so many of us, so many other women in the group.
no, I've seen.
If you now had told me, have you seen Indigo Sun? That's her mini me. That is her mini me, and
I've
she
seen.
don't even know what the donors look like.
Yeah, I've seen so
She
many
don't have
women.
no photos, no nothing. The child, God does have a sense of humor. That baby gonna look just like who we supposed to look like.
Right, because
It's probably gonna be you.
think in the group, somebody posted like they were one questioning epigenetics and wanted to know what did your child look like you or have any kind of resemblance. There were so many people that like one lady, neither donor, the man or the woman, were redheads, but her grandmother was
Right,
a redhead, and the baby
right,
came out being redhead with dimples and blue eyes, like her grandmother, and she has no biological the baby had no biological connection with this grandma, but the baby came out with red hair and blue eyes like her mother. But the donors
right.
didn't have red hair, blue eyes, nothing to the sort. So I got
I
over.
definitely feel like it's some science, some epigenetics. I truly believe in epigenetics. I think that those genes, your genes, do get expressed onto the child, in some sort of way, whether it's, by looks or just mannerism.
Right.
Environment plays a big role in your life. I mean, if you think about anybody influential, a lot of times it's not family, it's usually teachers or maybe like someone at church.
Mm-hmm.
There's people at my church that I still like look up to that have influenced me in different ways that my family could not have, so environment plays a big role. Genetics is there, but can definitely be influenced in the right environment,
Right. Right. Because I
So,
read that they said that our bodies and sugars and all the things we we cause. the genetics to we tap into what the genetics is going to be. So our
Right.
bodies, even though we are not the bio mom, our bodies activate what genes they're going to get from which parent. So
Right.
it's
And when
it's
I said my boy looks like my bio son when he was a baby, it's crazy.
yeah. So I got over. I mean, like yeah, I remember you saying your baby gonna look like what it look like. No matter
It's gonna look like what it's gonna look like.
you can pick the tallest the male donor that they had in the. He could be 6'8". You know, and your child mess around and be born at 5'1".
Cause
You
you don't
think
reach
oh
way back there
yeah
in the archives,
right
and then got somebody from somewhere. And you like, what the?
right
Yeah,
you thinking okay I
you
got
just
some
never,
six
never
eight
know.
so okay I got a son he gonna come out with his genetics he gonna be tall and that baby come out less than average. He a 5
Yeah.
foot man, but the donor was 6'8".
Listen, the way these children, listen, these children are disrespectful. They gonna do what they gonna do. You know, they gonna do what they gonna do, and that's just it. They gonna do what they gonna do, and I will be surprised. I think you're gonna be so surprised. That's what I said. I think that whether you have a biological child, you always want to know what they look like. You know, and it's definitely difficult when you don't see, you have pictures of what they look like,
Right,
but you can't really kind of pinpoint who they may look like because you
right.
just don't see them all the
Yeah,
time. But when he comes out, you will know, like, this is a child that was meant for me
yeah,
and
that's for me.
nobody else.
Yeah, it's gonna be my baby, and it's gonna be me and him till the wheels fall off until my husband finds me, finds us, and we become a family. But until then, it'll be me and my village. I just
And
had two people from my church who are awesome people agree to be his godparents.
oh,
So I'm just building the best village that I can build for him in the meantime.
and how's your gender disappointment coming along?
Listen, it was a thing in the beginning. I wanted a girl. If for those who didn't know, yeah, 5'1". Dona 6'8", and the baby boy comes out. He grows up full grown man. He 5'1". And you thought you was creating and doing what you need to do. Like Sharonda said, they gonna do what they gonna do. The baby gonna be and look like how they gonna look, and that's it. That's all. Um, I've got to a point. I'm happy now. I'm looking forward to my baby boy. In the beginning, of course, I was hurt. Gender disappointment. I envisioned for a very, very long time that I was going to be a girl mom and we were going to be dressed alike and all the things. But now I see all these mommies and sons with their matching outfits, and I said, okay, that's what we going to do.
Yeah, just go ahead and just make sure that the shoe game is real because y'all gonna have some shoes now.
That's what we're going to do. And I'm a Jordan person. I don't really wear my sneakers anymore, so I've started to prepare his nursery. So I moved everything down to the basement. I was like, you know what? He's gonna wear these shoes when he get older. These shoes will be for him.
Amen.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be a boy mom, and everybody who I talk to now is like, "Girl, you don't want no girl. Girls are a mess. You want a boy. The boys are better." So many people I've talked to said that. So I said, "You might be right. You may be on to something. You might be on to something."
Well, now that we're here, we've already talked about because you say you don't forget that you don't got this is a donor baby. So my last question to you is: now that you're in this space, um, and you've made it with all the hurdles, all the storms, and you're here, what is your new advice that you would give to that woman who is fighting for and still in waiting?
I say it. I post all the time. I said I made it to a different stage than what I was and what many of the ladies are still dealing with. But I said I'm still 10 toes down for everybody, all mommies in waiting. I'm still right here with you. Um, I'm at a different stage, but I was once where you were not too very long ago. And I just say, as I told you, Sharonda, if it's in your heart and you have that hunger and that desire that just won't go away, it keeps you up at night. You think about it, you dream about it, you talk about it. Just don't give up. Don't give up. Find a way to push through. Stay prayed up. I couldn't tell you enough how much I prayed during this process. I cannot tell you, I can't put in words how much hope that I held on to in this process. If you have the hope, you have the dream, you have the resources. There's so many different places out there you can go, save up, whatever you got to do, switch clinics, switch doctors. Don't give up. Whatever. Because I could have given up failed transfer. I could have given up time after time, fluid, fibroid surgery, not being able to afford at one point, spending $800 a month, trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. Am I going to stick in it? What clinic am I going to go to? Doctors telling me that they don't want to transfer my embryo. Snowstorms. All that were all obstacles, and I didn't see the bigger picture. I didn't see the blue skies and the sun, but it eventually caught up with me. So just stay prayed up. Do not give up. If it's in your heart to do, don't give up. If you run out of embryos, ask. That was one of the women's conference was ask, seek, knock. So ask big. Don't ask small. Ask big for what you want. And be in expectation that it'll happen. Be patient because it might not happen when you want it to happen. I'm 44 years old, expecting my first child. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I stuck with it. That faith the size of a mustard seed, you got to have it. You got to have it. And you got to stay prayed up and believe and expect that it's going to happen. It will happen. Trust me. I was where you were. I don't take it lightly. I don't take anything for granted. And I look forward to hearing your stories just like I shared my stories. I look forward to hearing each one of your stories. And Sharonda, you know, I look forward to hearing your story. And I'm glad that you're finding your way back. The songs are beautiful. I can't wait to use them for myself and advertise you as the writer of such beautiful songs, because there's so many women out there that are still in hope, still don't know how they're going to make it happen. I've had so many people since I announced it, say how single women who don't have any children, how I inspire them, how they're still trying to decide if they want to do it, how much of a superwoman I am, and knowing that I'm going to work every day and not complaining, about the injections and the medications and being sick and all the things. And I still continue to push through, and it'll happen. I'm confident it'll happen. Stay prayed up. Have your village there to support you, because you don't want to go through it alone. It's definitely a process. And you need a strong support system to help you through it. But don't give up. Don't give up. I'm not giving up on my belief in you, so you don't give up, because I know it's going to happen. And I look forward to hearing all of the stories of the amazing blessings that are coming in 2025, 2026, 2020, however long it takes. We're gonna stick through it, because it's gonna happen. There is a rainbow at the end of that road. Twists, turns, detours, pavements messed up, flooding, all of the things, but that road is still there, and there's an end, and so you'll get to it. So don't give up. I'll continue to be praying for each and every one of you, those who have had children, those who have just recently had children, those who are expecting, and those who are in waiting still. So I got you in my heart. I got you in my prayers. And I look forward to hearing all the amazing stories coming soon. So stick with it. If there's anything that you need, if you want to talk to me privately, I have no problems with sharing any resources or anything that I got. I don't mind sharing because I was once where you are. And I know how it feels. And you're not alone.
Thank you, D. It's always a pleasure. You know we're gonna have part three when you had a baby.
Oh, yeah.